Hey there. Welcome to the Marketing Stream. I'm your host, Vicki O'Neill. Thank you so much for being here. If you are joining me live, please leave me a comment on. Please leave me a comment on. I had to take that off. I forgot I had the window open. I was checking to see if I had a link in the comments for you guys to download the 6 steps to creating content for the customer journey and forgot to shut the window. So sorry about the echo. If you're new here, thank you so much for being here. If you're joining me live, leave a comment and let me know where you are joining from. I would love to know where you're joining me from. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for watching the replay. I appreciate you doing that as well. As you know, if you've been joining me the last couple of weeks, I've been going live every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you can hear that noise, they're testing the sirens, so not the best time to be doing this, but hey, it's live. These things happen, right? So I'm reviewing the 6 steps to creating content for the customer journey. We're all familiar with the know, like, and trust process, right? You've heard of that. That's 3 steps that a buyer will go through in order to trust you before they buy from you. I've added a couple of steps onto that process because I think it's important to have a holistic view of what a buyer actually goes through. So I took it back a step and included define, which is knowing who your ideal target customers are. Because if you don't have that defined and you don't know where they're spending time and you don't know what their triggers are or why they would be looking for your particular service in the first place, it's going to make bringing on customers that much more challenging. So going through the personas process, which I reviewed 2 weeks ago, I reviewed that so that you have a better opportunity for maxing your marketing spend and, of course, your time, because time is money. So personas will help you do that. And that's the first step in the know, like, and trust process. The second step is the know of the know, like, and trust, which I reviewed last week. And that was all about just asking questions in order to create content that will help generate awareness of your brand to your target customer. So if that's something that you haven't done, that's what the document that I created can help you do. There's a page for each step, and it kind of walks through what it is, why it's important. And then it has some questions and different content examples that you can consider for that step in the process. And then there's a worksheet that I created that can help walk you through that as well. So you can download it, you can write that in, and this just helps you process the customer journey and understanding what type of content will actually help them get from point A to point Z. So this process is connecting the dots for your customers or for your prospects in order to help them know, like, trust, and ultimately buy from you. So this week I'm reviewing like, which is the second or third step in the process. So like, you've already gained their awareness. They're already starting to get to know you. They might be seeing your tweets or your Facebook messages or seeing you talked about on social media, or even a friend may have recommended you to someone else. So in that process, they're starting to get to know you. But before they buy from you, they have to like you. Think of a movie, or think of a sporting event, or think of, like, one of my favorite TV shows is The Voice. Now, I want to know who wins The Voice. And if you're not familiar with that, it's a singing competition. It starts off with blind auditions, and it goes all the way through, and all the singers are competing with coaches. And for me, it's just a great way to recognize new talent for the music industry that otherwise wouldn't have been discovered if it wasn't for this platform. So I absolutely love watching that show. Well, I always want to know who wins, but the key thing is that I also want to know the process that they go through, how they work with the different coaches. What do they experience in that process? Because that's got to be an emotional process, good and bad, especially if you don't make it to the next round, right? Same thing with a sporting event. If you're watching sports and you're watching your favorite team play another team, you of course want your team to win and you want to see that final score indicating that they won. But the joy is actually in attending the sporting event. And that's part of the process. It's the know, like, and trust and creating a customer journey. It's a long game play. Okay. It's human to human interaction, and it's all about creating the awareness, helping them get to know you better, like you, trust you, and then ultimately buy from you. The last step in that process is retention, because we can't stop serving our customers once they become customers. That's a whole nother strategy with how can we retain our existing customers, because you work so hard in that process to acquire them that you want to continue to serve them the best that you can in order to keep them on board with your solution. So this week is like, and there's a quote at the top or a statistic at the top of this. 76% of consumers think a company should understand their expectations and needs. True or false? I shouldn't say true or false. It is true. It's from Salesforce. That's where the data is from. More or less, do you agree or disagree? I'm going to say you should agree, because that's 3 out of 4 people are saying, hey, I want you to understand what it is that I need so that it's delivered to me in a relevant, personal way so that I can take that next step in the purchasing process to buy from you. So in order to make that happen, you've already captured their attention, and now you need to help them get to like you more. So that is sharing a different type of information, right? So questions that you can ask yourself are, how will we gain their interest? So they're aware of you now, but how can I get them interested in me? Whole different set of information. So the best thing to do with that is to create a content strategy. And you most likely already have one. If that's the case, I applaud you, because that's the best way to understand that you've got all of the touch points covered and that you understand that process that they're going through. A lot of times it's best to even reverse engineer that process and just understand, okay, they came in to buy from me from LinkedIn. They sent you a DM and picked up the phone, and you ended up having that conversation. That's where it started or it ended. And part of that conversation can be like, how did you find me? How did you, come to actually send me that message? And understanding the steps that happened prior to that can help you define the type of content that you need for each one of these steps. You're going to start to see some similarities and some trends, and understanding what it is that triggered them to either pick up the phone or send you that DM at that particular point. When you have that information, then you can create a better experience for future people just like them. So if that customer becomes a raving fan and you're replicating that process that got them to that point, you've created a great experience for them. They've become a customer, a raving fan, and they're going to be talking about your brand to other people, right? So 86% of buyers will actually spend more money with a company for a better or a great customer experience. And guess what? The customer journey is part of that experience. The experience isn't narrowed down to just like customer service or the technical aspect of creating, an experience on the website. It's the journey that your prospects go through in order to buy from you. So keep that in mind. That's almost 9 out of 10 people will pay more for a particular product or service in order to, like, if they have a great experience. So look at your experiences that you're providing for your prospects and even your customers. What does that say? Is it easy to get from point A to point B? Are you giving them the right messaging at that particular time? Are you creating a call to action that helps them understand what that next step is that you want them to take from that point moving forward? Because a lot of times people don't want to have to second guess. They don't want to have to think about it. They want you to put it right there in front of them and say, okay, here is my tweet. I'm now saying I'm hosting a webinar, and click this link to learn more. Okay. I don't have a bunch of links. I don't have anything else. It's just click this link if you want to learn more. They click that link. They go to my website. They see, excuse me, I've got allergies. I've got a lot of allergy stuff went on. So they click the link, they go to the webpage, and all of a sudden they see all of the information. Here's what the webinar is about. Here's what you can expect being on this webinar. Here's going to be the 3 takeaways from this webinar. If you're ready to register, here's when it is, or here are your choices. Click this button. Again, information, I've taken them down the path. I've given them the information that they want. Now I've given them a call to action that they can click on and take that next step. So think about the content that you're creating. And even if you have a bunch of content created now, you can look at and say, what is the messaging, high level, not reading through everything. What's the messaging? What should they be doing from this point moving forward? And are you providing that action, that next step for them, and making it super easy for them to take that next step with you? Keep that 86% in mind. 86% of buyers will pay more for a product or service when they're given a great customer experience. So just think of what they're experiencing along the way. I think it was in the first one that I reviewed an example of like a plumber. Might have been in a previous video too. If you're looking for a plumber, you could be in 3 completely different places. Okay, you could have a leak, so you need that 24/7, access to a plumber. That's going to be a different type of customer, different type of messaging versus someone who is putting an addition on their house, including like a half bath. That's going to require some planning. They're going to do a little bit more research. They're going to be comparing different plumbers who has actually worked on renovations versus somebody who's just a 24/7 plumber that answers to emergencies. So understanding what those triggers are, the different states that your prospects and your customers are going through to find your solution or find your product is really the key to awareness, generating the like factor, creating the trust, and helping them buy from you. So that's really what it's all about. So some of the content ideas that I include in the guide, which you can download, the link is in the comments for this video. It's the 6 steps to creating content for the customer journey. So these are just 2 pages out of it. So some content ideas. Videos. An example would be, I want to see what information the company shares, or they want to see videos on different team members, or an actual event, or behind the scenes of what goes on at your company. When you do something with video, like I'm doing right now, you get to see my personality. You get to see my facial expressions. You get to hear my voice. You get to see information. You're actually, it's the next best thing to being in person, right? Video is even better than being on the phone. So this conversation could actually then carry over into another conversation that does become one-on-one. If that's something that you're interested in doing, is talking to me about how you can create content for your prospects or customer's journey, I would be more than happy to talk to you about that in creating a personalized plan for you. So video is going to help create that connection, and connection creates community. So give that some thought. I know video is a challenging media for a lot of people to embrace, and it's difficult for some people to act on. And I get it. I'm still nervous going live, but I know that this is something that I need to do, thinking ahead with my business. So I just need to be okay with being uncomfortable and take action and make it happen, and just know it's okay and part of the process. So a couple of other content ideas are blog posts, which blog posts can serve so many different purposes. But keep in mind that someone's going to most likely go to a blog post if they want to learn more about your company, or more about the types of problems that you solve, or customers that you've worked with, or your industry leadership view, how you're seen in your particular industry, whether or not you're keeping your finger on the pulse of the latest and greatest technologies in your industry, or just with technology in general. So look at different ways that you can, create blog content that shows that you're a thought leader in your space, that you stay up to date on the latest and greatest in your particular industry. Because when they're looking for information and they're researching the different options that they're considering, if you're one of them, that's going to be one of the things they could be looking for. And if they're looking at 3 different companies and 2 of them have blogs that give them insight into what they do, how they do it, why they do it, who they serve, their view on the industry, they've got a podcast, they've got all these other different things where, they're being seen now as a more well-rounded source, then that's something that, and if you don't have a blog, that could actually take you out of the game. You may not even be considered at that point. So, and again, blogs may not be specific to your particular industry, but if it is, and that's something that you think is vital to your customer journey process, and you don't have one, then that's something that you should highly consider. I highly recommend that you do start a blog so that you can start actually creating more of that like factor when they're searching for you. Another thing is to do demos. They want to see your particular product or service at work. Now, as a service-based business, if you're like me, it's difficult to show what we do, right? Because it's digital. You can't really show it. And that's one reason why doing, things like this, where I create guides and downloadable documents and helpful tips and a podcast and, putting information out there in as many formats and as many places as I can to help demonstrate my knowledge is how I can, share the information that I do. Now, I don't have an app, or I don't have, I'm not a SaaS company. I don't have anything like that I could actually create a demo for, but I've done webinars and I offer online courses. And there's other ways that a service-based company like myself and possibly like you can create a unique or a different way for your prospects and customers to engage with you so they can get to like you more. Okay, and just keep that in mind. This step in the process is all about creating like. And if you have existing customers, I've mentioned this before, is that look at your data, talk to your customers, find out what triggered them at different points to even consider you as a solution for their particular problem. And when you look at data and you have those conversations, it's going to be a lot more insightful, not only to creating content, but for getting greater insight into who your customers actually are. And you might find, especially with the coronavirus pandemic that we've been in recently, that behaviors may have changed, how they're searching or working with people may have changed. Your persona that you created, or your ideal customer avatar that you created, may need to be revisited, and you may need to update that based on situations. So give that some thought too, because it might be something that you need to do. And if you haven't already, download the document so that you have this at your disposal. I also include in there why it's important to have a customer journey. Hey, Diana, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. It's got why having a customer journey is important. There is a B2B example that I walked through with a customer that I worked with, just to kind of help put all the pieces together and connect the dots between all 6 steps with a realistic situation. So that's included in this document as well, plus all 6 steps. So if you go ahead and download it now, thank you. I appreciate you watching the replay too. If you download it, then you'll get the 3 steps that I've already talked about, but then also you'll get to see the 3 steps that I will be talking about over the next 3 weeks. So if you don't have that, go ahead and download it. If you do, I would love to hear your feedback. Is it helpful? Is it not helpful? Is there information that you would like to see in it that would make it better? This is the first time that I've rolled it out. So of course, I'm sure there's opportunities for improvement, and the goal is to help you. So if it's not serving you the best that it could, then I would love to update it so that it will. So leave me, comments if there are suggestions that you have, or you can reach me anywhere on all the social media platforms, and on my website, VickiO'Neill.com. All my contact information is on there, including the social channels. So if there's a different place that you would prefer to connect and chat, All of the social icons are in the footer of my website. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me live, Diana. And if you're watching the replay, thank you so much for watching the replay. Leave me a comment below and let me know what your favorite part was. Don't forget to hit like for the video. And if you aren't already subscribed, go ahead and do that now and hit the bell indicator so that you receive notifications moving forward. Okay, thank you so much again. And until next time, I'm Vicki O'Neill. Make today great.